This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Well friends, we got ourselves a situation. If you are a subscriber to the channel, you know that all week long I've been monitoring this area in the Southwest Caribbean for potential tropical development. Now that chance looks to be higher and higher, and there is a decent likelihood, a good likelihood, that we are going to see some tropical impacts to portions of the Caribbean and potentially several different Caribbean islands as we get into late in the week. If you're not a subscriber, thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. You want to join along as we continue to track this system. And to my current subscribers, thank you very much for liking the video. So now we have a 50% chance of development for the area in orange. Again, the Hurricane Center has just continued to kind of up that chance, but everything has kind of played out as I expected over the weekend. That doesn't always happen, but we're all on track. This disturbance, again, is still very broad and disorganized, but the atmospheric conditions are conducive for tropical development. Sea surface temperatures are going to support that as well. And that's why the Hurricane Center continues to up the chance, and it will go higher than 50%. Both the GFS and the European models are saying that we're going to at least get a tropical depression out of this. So what's happening right now on this Sunday afternoon? Well, it's just a broad area of disorganized showers and storms so far. And really, the models don't begin development until sometime at least on Wednesday. This system is going to meander in the southwestern Caribbean and then kind of sneak up, try and get a little bit farther northwest before kicking off towards the east. Now, what it will do in the short term is bring the opportunity for some rain to portions of Central America. So for Panama and Panama City, and then Costa Rica and San Jose, and then some of that drifting inland into portions of Nicaragua and in Honduras, maybe not as far west as Managua and Tegucigalpa, mainly towards the coastal areas. But again, on this enhanced satellite imagery, you can see it's a flare-up of showers and storms. I can show you also what's happening at the lower levels of the atmosphere with the water vapor. We'll start off there. And again, just a tremendous amount of moisture in play. And I've mentioned this the last time we did a video here, that the other big story with this is going to be the opportunity for some very heavy rainfall. But there's a good likelihood, again, that we could get a depression or even a tropical storm, and so some wind impacts are going to be coming along with this. That's the lower levels. The upper levels just show you, again, very moisture-laden air all the way back through portions of South America. Some of that extends back towards the ABC Islands and even into the Windward Islands as well. But obviously, it's very concentrated right now in the Southwest Caribbean, and basically as this disturbance sits over this area, we're just going to get a little bit better opportunity over the next 48 hours to continue to see this develop. So that's kind of the here and now. Let's take a look at the models and see what it's painting on. So we'll start off right now. Let me switch on over to here, and we're going to make sure loop this into motion here over the next several days. It's going to paint on here. So we're looking at the GFS model. Let's take a look at what it's showing you. I've let it run out more than a week, but over the next couple of days, you can see the gathering of this system. Again, it's still fairly disorganized, just a broad area of showers and storms here as we move into our Monday, which is the 13th, and then Tuesday and even into Wednesday. Now, again, we're just beginning to try and wrap this up Wednesday, but especially into Thursday. Now, ahead of it, we could see some extensive rain. So for portions of Jamaica and eastern Cuba and Hispaniola, especially the western side towards Haiti and eventually towards the Turks and Caicos as well, we're going to get the opportunity for some heavy rainfall on the northeast side as this begins to spin up, and then that movement up to the north and to the east. Now, again, it's never going to more than likely wrap up into an extremely strong or at least a very large system, but there are some strong core winds here within the GFS I'll show you coming up in just a little bit. Even for my friends in the Cayman Islands, I want you to pay very close attention to this. Right now, both the European and the GFS model are a little bit to the east of you, which would be good news. Of course, on the northwest side and the southwest side, we have the weaker part of the storm, probably not as much rain, which is good news for Central America. We don't need more rain for places like Bolivia Belize and portions of Nicaragua and Honduras. We might get a few showers, but obviously we're more concentrated and more focused on what's happening to your north and east. So zooming in on this, and let me back out for my friends in Kingston and Negril and Montego Bay. Again, as we get into Wednesday, we'll start to see that rain move in. So the first thing that we'll have to be dealing with is some good tropical downpours out of this for places like the Dominican Republic and Haiti and Jamaica. And then this on the GFS model begins to spin up basically as it approaches Jamaica, but especially just kind of north and east towards Hispaniola. Now remember, Hispaniola is a very mountainous terrained island, and that might rip apart whatever this is if the center goes directly over it. And then for the Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas, that's where the core of the wind would go, but we would get some rain in places like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And this could very quickly merge with a surface boundary, a cold front that's going to be moving through. You look up towards the Bahamas, that's not the system, but look how quickly this thing elongates itself and kind of quickly moves north and east. So we might have a tropical storm moving over Hispaniola. It gets not much farther north and east than the Turks and Caicos, and it becomes extra tropical really quickly. Remember, this is the third week of November, so we're not dealing with more than likely a tropical system that might stay tropical for days and days and days. I think as it gets north of the Turks and Caicos, it's going to quickly merge with that frontal boundary and become extra tropical. So let's take a look at the wind profile out of this here. We'll switch on over to that product. And again, this is still the GFS model. I'm going to show you the European model coming up, but I got to tell you something. The European model continues to get more into agreement with the GFS, both on timing and on track. The intensity is still a little bit weaker than the GFS, but it's coming along and giving us a better chance for a tropical storm. And again, it's an opportunity to get tropical storm events out of this, if nothing else, tropical depression number 22. So we're looking at the wind profile here on the GFS. Again, this is going to be our Wednesday. Notice that it's still very broad in nature in the Southwest Caribbean, but we're starting to kind of pick up some steam with some winds on the southern coastline of Haiti and then through the island of Jamaica there. And then in a fairly short order, in about 24 to 36 hours, we get this wrap up here on the GFS model. And notice again, it's basically very near the eastern side of Jamaica and then moving on through. So we start to get a little bit more of a core on the GFS model as it approaches the islands. And again, this is several different islands that have to pay attention for this. Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and then the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas. But notice again, as this potentially moves very close to Hispaniola, it does rip apart a little bit. It actually produces the strongest winds and then races north and east as it moves northeast of the Turks and Caicos, as it becomes that extratropical hybrid system. So what am I leaning at here? I think we're going to get a very heavy rainmaker, potential flood maker for the islands I just mentioned. Certainly enough wind where we're going to have to watch out for the wind profile and the tropical storm gusts, if nothing else. But the strongest winds may actually be as it accelerates north and east and moves away into the western Atlantic. But again, all of these areas need to pay very close attention to this as we get into mid to late week. That's the timing of this system. I can actually show you here on our GFS model. This is going to be basically a future cloud model for us here. We can kind of take a look at what's happening at the cloud level. So you can see again, it's not going to be the highest resolution, but I'm going to show you kind of why we're looking at this pretty quickly. You notice that as this steams away, we actually get relatively dry air to move in fairly quickly. You can see those dense overcast clouds as we get towards Friday and the weekend, right over Jamaica and Cuba and Hispaniola and the Turks and Caicos. Now I can show you what we call the precipitable water. Okay, this is kind of like the fluid dynamics of the atmosphere, but this is a really neat product here because this can almost, if you will, act like a future satellite as well. So when you see these whites, we're way up on the scale of precipitable water. That means there is just a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. Now, it's just a huge blob of moisture in the Southwest Caribbean until we start to see that spin up, and you can start to see that happen here on the model right as it gets just to the east of Jamaica. So we start to see that spin up here on this precipitable water. And what I'm looking for in this is I'm looking to see this moisture wrap around that core. And we see that a bit, again, right as it heads over Haiti and the Turks and Caicos, but also notice the green, that's your drier air. It's quickly racing its way in and wrapping itself around the south and the western center of that system. That's going to, again, push this very quickly to the north and to the east. And look how quickly this accelerates by and basically fizzles as it gets towards Bermuda. So we could have some gale conditions in Turks and Caicos, maybe some gale conditions up in Bermuda. I mean, really strong winds, non-tropical in nature, but man, it could be really howling there. So again, just interesting to see that on this precipitable water. You can see that core wrapped around as it gets towards Hispaniola and then moving north and east. And look how quickly this drier air comes in. And again, the reason why, we're now into the third week of November. We're getting cold fronts to work their way through the east coast of the United States with a lot of shear and a lot of differing wind profiles compared to a tropical system in the Caribbean. So the clashing of the two is going to turn this extratropical pretty quickly here on this GFS model. All right, let's look at the European model. This is the European model pressure track. I've looped it. Now, it's a very slow loop, so you get a general idea. You're going to see this slowly develop. You get the time frame. Let me step over here. This is Friday, beginning to develop. We now have about 1,000 millibar pressure system. And again, look, now we're down to 996. That would support tropical storm strength more than likely as that system races north and east. But also, again, and I'm going to let this loop one more time, you're looking at a timing and a track that is very, very similar to the GFS. Again, kind of this broad low meandering over the next several days. But then as we get into Thursday and Friday, look at that track, very near Jamaica on Friday, moving north and east, getting a little bit stronger. It heads towards eastern Cuba. It's just slightly west of the GFS, but not by much, moving through the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, and then accelerating away. And again, we have a closed low, and that pressure would support more than likely at least a weak tropical storm, anything over or less than 1,000 millibars. And this is the European model chance of a tropical storm. Again, right now it's at 100% chance for a tropical depression, and we're starting to ping in that 40 to 50% range. This is the highest I've seen. The European model actually showed the percent chance for a tropical storm. And you notice that track is very similar to the GFS. Now, obviously, we still have a few more days to be monitoring this before anything develops. Things can change, but I have mentioned this in the videos I put together over this last week, that there has been pretty good consistency in both the GFS and the European. Their individual solutions, but also the fact that they're actually in fairly good agreement as well. So let's talk about the areas that I think should be in what I call watch and wait mode, okay? Meaning that there's no reason to take any action right now. Of course, you're always going to check in with your local officials and your local government for any emergency preparedness you need to do. But these are the areas that, again, if you live here or know someone that do, you want to let them know, or you're going to want to pay very close attention. I'll keep you updated, of course, through the week. That would include Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and I will say the Cayman Islands, I'm including you because you're close enough. But right now, based on the models, the worst weather would be off towards your east. Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, all of Hispaniola, the Turks and Caicos, and the southeast side of the Bahamas. Those are the areas that I feel like really need to pay the closest attention to what is going to be coming your way. And again, you know, the wind profile is one thing, but the rain is going to be significant as well. So where can you follow us besides just seeing us here? Well, we've got it everywhere. We got you covered on social media. My Meteo Mundo on Instagram, Meteo Mundo on TikTok. We've got a Facebook page, and you can always email us as well. We update these other social media platforms on a regular basis. So if you're looking to get some quick snippets of the forecast, you don't have a chance to tune into the YouTube video here as prominently, check out our other social media platforms. I do want to get back to a couple of other things here. The other thing I want to talk about is the rainfall potential out of this. I think this is going to be another big story. So let me switch over to the total precipitation, and I'm going to throw this into motion, and we're just going to see a lot of rain being dumped by this system, okay? So I'm going to pause it here. We could even back it up a couple of days. But again, for Jamaica, for Haiti, for Eastern Cuba, for the Turks and the Caicos, you're looking at the potential for some very significant rainfall here on the GFS model. Again, for Jamaica itself. Now, it's interesting that it's painting on very little rain on the western side and then over a foot of rain on the far eastern side. I don't think we're going to have that kind of a gradient. I think more than likely it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but several inches of rain are likely if the GFS model holds true. And remember, the European model is slightly west, which would put even the heavier rain in your area. Remember, anywhere east of the center of circulation is going to see the strongest winds. Obviously, the highest storm surge, if we're talking about that, but generally speaking, the highest rainfall totals as well. So you have a significant swath of over a foot of rain following the eastern side of that center of circulation. Then you get back into portions of Hispaniola, and again, towards Port-au-Prince, 8-9 inches of rain. You get towards the western shoreline. Again, you're looking at very significant rainfall totals. The eastern tip of Cuba, several inches of rain up towards the Turks and Caicos. And again, towards Cockburn Town, 4 or 5 inches of rain. Matthew Town, 3 to 4. Now, again, if these models hold true, the storm might be accelerating very quickly into the Turks and Caicos, so we may not have an abundant amount of rain there. Again, you could almost divide this from south of Hispaniola to north of Hispaniola. South of it, you've got a very slow movement and an abundant amount of moisture, and very heavy rainfall is likely. North of that island, not only will the island potentially rip apart some of that center of circulation, but now it starts to interact with that frontal system that's coming off the east coast of the United States, and a quick acceleration up to the north and to the east is highly likely. So I'm not as concerned with rainfall totals there, but just look at all of that moisture. And again, for Central America, I would say that for Panama, because some of that moisture is lifting from south to north, it is painting on a good amount of rain for Panama City. We'll keep an eye out for you guys, not as much for San Jose and not as much for other areas of Central America. Let me get back to the reflectivity product here, and I'm going to switch over. We'll drop it down just over the next 5 days because I want to make sure that I cover everyone for the week ahead here. Don't want to leave anyone out. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some big focus on what's going on with this disturbance, but let's just take a kind of a broad look at what's going to be happening here for the week ahead. Again, I kind of mentioned Central America, most of the showers staying offshore. There might be some heavier rain for portions of Panama. For the ABC Islands, you're mainly just to the south and east of the heaviest moisture. I'll be monitoring that, but for Aruba and Curacao and Bonaire, certainly the opportunity to catch some of those showers, certainly late in the week. For our friends in the rest of the Lesser Antilles, I don't see a lot of rain for you this week. I'll be monitoring this situation from Anguilla all the way down towards Trinidad and Tobago, but you should just see some very spotty showers. We've had some heavy rain in places like St. Lucia lately, but again, I'm not expecting a ton of rain there. For San Juan and the Virgin Islands there, Puerto Rico, again, as this system heads closer to you, your rain chances will be going up, but maybe not until late into the week. For Hispaniola, I mean, obviously that's one of the areas where we could get some extensive rainfall Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and maybe even into the weekend. So obviously with that disturbance moving very much into your direction, that's what we'll be monitoring. It's the same thing for my friends in Jamaica. Again, you'll start to see that rain move in on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, we could see some abundant rain. That's something we'll keep a close eye on. Again, not as concerned right now for the Cayman Islands, but a close enough proximity where we have to put you on watch. We're looking pretty good for the rest of the Yucatan. And again, Turks and Caicos will be on alert for late in the week, and then up towards the rest of the Bahamas, we are going to get some heavier rain out of that system coming to the north. It's a front pulling off of the east coast of the United States, so places like Freeport and Nassau, you will be in for the potential for some heavier rain as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, and that system could kind of stall out. And that's something I'll be monitoring for maybe some heavier rain Wednesday into Thursday, not with our tropical system, but with that front coming in, we could get a fairly wet forecast there. Okay, so as we wrap this up, friends, the other thing I want to mention, of course, is that in addition to finding us on all the social media platforms in these forecast videos that I do, we also live stream nearly 24/7. If you go to our live tab, you're going to see these numbers are your current temperatures. You're going to get what's happening real time with satellite and radar information and real time updated tropical information as well. If we start to get an invest and we get those tropical tracks, you'll see that. So I urge you or encourage you to go from time to time to our live tab, check out our live stream in between these forecast updates. Obviously, it's going to be a busy week ahead. I'll be back here every day with updates. If this progresses as I expect it to, I'll also be doing some live streams. I'll be coming back on live and we can chat, we can interact, we can certainly kind of go over the forecast together. So we've got you covered here at Meteo Mundo. If you want to do me a quick favor again, if you haven't liked this video, like the video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll keep you updated. Have a great rest of your weekend and into early next week. And I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.